All right, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do the ghost assignment and how to fix a bunch of very common mistakes that happen in it. Let's go ahead and get started. I've got my two photos here that I'm going to ghost, and I'm going to I want to put the one that the person is going to look like the ghost, that needs to be on top. So to do that, I'm going to grab my move tool right here with this photo. I'm going to click and drag anywhere in the photo up to this other tab, hold it there for just a second, and then bring it down. Before I let go, I'm going to press and hold the shift key, and that will have Photoshop put it directly into the right spot for me. So that is how you get the two photos on top of each other. Now, how do I do levels and saturation to both of these photos? Well, it's really easy. I'm just going to come down here to the bottom of my layers palette. Here's my layers palette. Come down here, I got this black and white circle. Click on that. First, I'll choose levels, and you'll see this little thing right here will pop up, and I'll treat this just like a normal levels, and this is doing levels to both of the layers. Look at my layers palette. See this weird looking layer? This is called an adjustment layer. And any layer that is below that is now getting this levels adjustment done to it. It's really quite handy. There's no OK button, so I just press that, make that go away. I'm going to come down here and do the same thing, black and white circle, hue and saturation, and do my normal method, bring that all the way up, and stop when I think I'm back to 0. And that looks pretty good. So there you go. I've done hue and saturation. All right, now let's talk about how do we remove things from the photo. Well, really quite simple. I'm going to go back, make sure I'm on my top layer, my layer that has something I want to remove, like this table. And I'm going to grab the eraser tool. It's right here on the toolbar. Its keyboard shortcut is the letter E. And you can see this circle is going to show up as I select my eraser tool. If your circle's not showing up, it's probably because your caps lock is on. So if you turn caps lock off, you can see this circle will appear. So now my caps lock is on, now it's off. Okay. Another reason why it might not show up is because it's too small. If you come up here and look at the top of the screen, my eraser brush is currently size 1, so of course I can't see it. So to make it bigger, what you want to do is press the right bracket key. And I actually just press and hold it down. So the right bracket key makes my circle bigger. The left bracket key makes it smaller. And then another thing we want to do is we want to have a soft edge circle. And this will make more sense later on. But just know you should right click once you have your eraser selected. Put your hardness down to about 25% or so. It doesn't have to be exact. And there you go. That's going to give us a soft edge, and we are now ready to start erasing. So I'm just going to come in here and start erasing the table. You can see in doing so, I'm also making the other dude appear down on the ground because he was covered up by that top layer. So I'm just going to come in here and just erase as much as I can. At this point, it makes sense to start zooming in, making my brush a little bit smaller by using that left bracket key, and coming in here and being a little more careful in my erasing. It might also make sense to go ahead and lower down the opacity of this layer. And go ahead and turn him into a ghost. That way I probably don't have to be quite as precise in my erasing. In fact, you can see I'm going to go pretty quick here. Make sure you get all this shadow and everything down here too. I'm just going to come through here and just keep erasing this stuff until I've erased all the table. So just come through here and erase as much of this table as is needed. Now, if you make a mistake like that and you accidentally erase some of his pants, unfortunately the only thing you can do is just Control-Alt-Z to undo that and start over on that last step. Alright, so that is how you erase things from the picture to make it look like you have a floating body there. Alright, next I want to show you what do you do if your solid person in the photo moved between the two photos, which happened to probably almost all of you. If I zoom in on this photo, you can see her watch, her arm moved. You can see there's 2 of her arm right there, 2 of her watch. This is actually really simple to clean up. We're going to use that same eraser tool. Again, I'll be on layer 1, and all I'm going to do is just come in here And again, using a nice sized, soft-edged eraser, got my hardness to about 25%. I'm going to come in here, I'm just going to erase her from that top layer. I do need to be really careful once I get to where my ghost is. So right here, I'm going to zoom in, use a real small brush. Just make sure I don't erase any of the ghost, but get rid of as much of the extra person as I can. And that right there looks pretty good. So you can see really all I did was I made a hole in this top layer. If I bring the opacity back up on this one and I turn the background layer off, see what I did was I just erased a big hole in layer 1. So now I can only see the girl in the photo in the background layer. Alright, next I want to show you what do you do if the camera moved. And you can tell if I zoom in on this photo that there's two of the table. The table has a little ghosting there, the bar down here. Clearly the table didn't move in the photograph, which that means that the camera moved. And this is also a really easy thing to fix. Again, make sure you're on layer 1. Come up here, grab your move tool. And I'm actually just going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard. And I'm going to move that layer with my arrow keys until everything lines up. So you can see I got it lined up there. Now it's just a little bit off right here, so I'm just going to use the left arrow key. And look at that, I got that all lined up right now. And so I just did a little bit of the up arrow and a little bit of the left arrow key to get these two lined back up. And now I would go ahead and finish the rest of the assignment there. All right, last thing I want to show you is how to save this file, both so that you can keep working on it and so you can turn it in. First thing you need to know is whenever we save something that has multiple layers like this, we always want to save it as a PSD file. In fact, by default, Photoshop will suggest that we save it as a PSD. Look at that. When I went to save this, it was right there. It was already a PSD. That's Photoshop's way of saying, hey, you've got a lot of layers here. If you save this as a PSD, it will save all of the layers. So I'll go back to period 2, go into my folder, go into my ghost folder, and save that there. But now that PSD file, those cannot be turned in on Flickr. So we need to save it as a different type of file to save it on Flickr. So now that I'm all done, I'll go to File, Save As. And here in that same ghost folder, this time I will change the format from a PSD to a JPEG. And it's not a bad idea to come in here and rename this maybe 8594 finished. That way I know that is the finished complete file that I want to turn in on Flickr. So go ahead and press save, and then when this box pops up, just press OK, and you are good to go. You are ready to turn in this assignment.